I feel like the odd person out when it comes to my husband, who has a brain like an Excel spreadsheet.
Hmm.
The man can methodically just go through his list. He has so much discipline. It looks effortless. And I feel like the Tasmanian devil spinning around next to him, leaving things in my wake. And then we have a daughter who I think must be somewhere on the OCD spectrum, because I have never met somebody whose brain is more structured or organized, or who gets so like rattled when something's out of place. And I feel somehow like I'm inept. Like I kept like is like because I would love for you to kind of help us understand when you're a creative person, or you have skills in areas of your life that don't have that sort of do organization gene. I resonated when you said I'm a failure. I resonated when you said, I don't want anybody to come to my house because they're going to see what it looks like here. I feel shame, like there's something wrong with me when my husband or our daughter will walk past my closet and be like, oh my God, my closet. And I feel bad when they kind of jokingly tease me about, oh, she left that out. Oh, did this. Oh, da. And so what is it that you might feel or say to yourself if you're somebody that does struggle with clutter because nobody has ever taught you how to get a handle on this if you have a creative brain?
Right. And I just want to point out something really quickly. Look at what you've done. I mean, look at what you have built. So there is such a disconnect there that you have created what you have created that has helped so many people. And yet you feel like, I'm inept. You said the word failure. Like this, that is part of the disconnect, right? Because I was like, I am someone who, when I see a problem, I tackle it, I figure it out, and I could not do that with my house. Like I just couldn't. And so here's the thing. I viewed my house as a project because I am generally very successful with projects.
Oh.
Like that is something that I can do very well. Like you give me a large scale production, I was a theater arts teacher. I will have that thing so organized, people will be amazed, right? You will know exactly when you're supposed to be at rehearsal, exactly what we're going to be doing in that rehearsal. I mean, like everything is planned out ahead of time. I love to do the planning phase. I love the execution of my plan. I love the applause at the end of all of that. Like I love being done. And yet I would try to treat my house that way, right? Like I would say, okay, this is where I'm successful. This is how I tackle things in life. I'm going to apply that to my house. And so I am going to take an entire weekend or a week or all of summer vacation when I was teaching, whatever. And I'm going to change this place and I am going to get it under control. And then I would step back and go, oh, I'm done. Wow, this is great. And life would happen. It would go right back to being what it was. It's because I was treating it like a project. Well, your house is not a project, right? Like all of this isn't. And so it's like you're taking where you excel and having to say that doesn't work in this situation, right? So it is okay. You have gifts, you have talents. The world needs people like us, right? Like the world needs creative people who are willing to throw themselves into a big project at the expense of their house. I have a friend who is very meticulous. Her house is always great. She's great at spreadsheets, that kind of stuff. And she will say, like, we'll be talking about something. She's like, oh, I can't take that on because how would I get my dishes done and my house, keep my house under control if I did all that? And I'm like, literally, that never crosses my mind when I get excited about a big project.
Yes.
And
yes.
so, yeah, like that's it. So acknowledge you have so much to offer. So let's find a way. There is a way. Okay. There is a way for you to make your house not hold you back, right? It's not that you want to turn into these other people, right? Because you want to stay you. That's a big part of it for me. I'm like, I like me. I like the stuff that I enjoy doing. I don't want to spend all my time on my house. So how can I do things in a way where I'm not just having to give all that up? Instead, I'm able to keep my house under control, and that allows me to do even more and have more fun.
That sounds incredible. And
Yeah.
here's where my mind went.
Okay.
When you said that a lot of the ways that people that love organization don't work for a creative brain or a brain that has genius in other areas, I took a giant exhale. And because when I left the bathroom with cat hair all over my t-shirt, I noticed that my husband's bathroom counter was completely clear, nothing on it. And I looked back at my counter on my bathroom side, and it looked like somebody had taken a makeup bag and a dop kit and shaken everything out upside down, and it just splattered everywhere. And I was like, oh, like another one of those, see, I can't do this right.
Yeah.
And so I just like, okay, my brain doesn't work that way. So the self-acceptance thing and the acknowledgement that you have different gifts is super important. The second thing that happened for me, though, and I'm sure it happened for, the person listening, is that, we live in this social media world where I personally love to follow home and organization sites. I know that's really weird, given that I don't really organize very well when it comes to my home, but it's almost like pornography for me to look at a pantry that is color coded and, all the clear things and everything's perfect. And I know intellectually, Dana, that was styled by a production team, that looked like that for 1 second for a photo shoot, and that it's not real life. But I feel like I have this crazy expectation that I want my house to look like that.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, you're where you are. You have the makeup products all over the counter, and you think that's what I want.
Yes.
Are we ready for me to tell you what the difference is?
Yes.
Like, here's the reality.
Hit me.
That is organizing. You need to declutter. Organizing and decluttering are separate things. They are not the same thing, but I always thought they were the same thing. I would look around at my mess and I would think, I have got to get organized, because that logically makes sense, right?
Yes.
Besides, organizing is a project. Surely I should be able to do that. But the problem was, as long as I was trying to organize, first of all, first thing I would do is sit down and make a list, right, of all the things that I was going to change and blah, 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 and figure out how the future was going to go, and anyway. And I would do that, work on a space, or buy a bunch of products, bring them into my house, organizing energy was gone by the time I got home, and I just dropped them by the back door and they turned into more clutter, So it never made a real impact on my house. I was at such a rock bottom point that I honestly thought I was giving up by saying, I don't even have it in me to get organized. I am just going to declutter. Wow. Like in my mind, I thought, that's how bad I am. I've just got to declutter. I can't even think about organizing yet. Decluttering changed everything in my home. So the beauty of realizing that organizing and decluttering are not the same thing, and that you can just declutter, and that just decluttering will change everything, is that there is literally nothing to do before you get started. There is nothing. I mean, there is no planning. There's nothing. It's just starting to get stuff out of your house. Now, I have a process that I follow to kind of work me through that feeling of overwhelm when I'm looking at the mess. But decluttering is everything, because when I decluttered, then I knew what I had, which is what I had always wanted when I thought I needed to get organized, right? I knew where it was. I could get to it easily. I could access it easily because I'd gotten rid of all that extra stuff, so that when I opened the cabinet, I just saw what I needed and I could get to it without moving 15 things, right? And so decluttering made my house look better, function better, feel better. It was the thing I had been needing that I didn't know I needed. I thought I needed to get organized.
Wow. Okay. So what is the difference between decluttering and organizing, if you had to boil it down?
Organizing is problem solving. Like, organizing is, let me think how this space is going to work tomorrow And in the future, now, an organized person might be like, no, this is, but I'm saying from my perspective, when I thought I needed to get organized, I thought, well, how's this all gonna go? How is this gonna function from now for the next 10 years? And in my mind, it was bins and boxes,
yes,
and systems and all these things that I would look at, which is what you're talking about when you look at those images on Instagram of the color-coded things and all that. You look at that and you think, that's it. I need the colors. And so you bring the colors in, and then you're trying to fit all the stuff in there. But in reality, I realized, and I named it, that I have a clutter threshold. Everyone has a clutter threshold. What that means is it's the point at which you personally can keep the things in your home under control. Okay. It's the amount of stuff that you personally can keep under control. It's the reason why you and your friend can go shopping together, buy the exact same things. She puts it in her house. It looks like a magazine. You put it in your house. It looks like a thrift store, right? Like that difference between like, she can handle this stuff. And that was part of that self-acceptance, right? Was realizing I brought all this stuff into my house because I wanted it. I saw potential in it. I'm a lovely person who sees value in things that no one else sees value in, right? Like that's a great quality, except that I was bringing it into my house and I couldn't handle it. Like it was not possible for me to keep my house under control with the amount of stuff that I had in my house. So it's not it's not aesthetics. Some people hear clutter threshold and they're like, oh yeah, this drives me. No, I'm talking about what can you handle? What's easy for you to keep under control? So if a space is continually getting out of control, get rid of more stuff. Oh, it's still getting out of control? Get rid of more stuff. Get rid of until you realize at some point, this is what happened to me as I was like, wait a minute, I can do this. Like I can keep this under control. And that's where I realized there's this point, this level of stuff that I can handle.
You are a genius. When I hear the word organization, I think it looks pretty. That's what and you're exactly right. I'm like, okay, I just have to get the bins that line up and the labeler that has the nice font and the little tags in my laundry room. And then I take all the shit that I have and I stack it all in there and then I make it look nice. And if I spend 6 hours in one space and I've bought all the crap and I actually have enough energy to focus and get it all looking pretty, which in my mind is the baskets match and it looks like a photo shoot and everything's in its place. You're right. I'm managing shit that I can't manage because the second that our son walks in the laundry room and pulls out the thing and puts it in a different place, then everything's out of whack again and I got no energy and it doesn't look like how it's supposed to look and I feel unorganized again and it all spills out from there and then I go buy a different basket because it needs to be a bigger basket so that like I am driving myself and my husband crazy. And how do you know what your clutter threshold is? Like what is the test?
I hate to tell you this, but there is literally no way to know other than to declutter. There's not a quiz that you can take. You can just know if my house feels overwhelming, I'm over my clutter threshold. If my house is consistently getting out of control and I feel bewildered by that, then I'm over my clutter threshold. So declutter, the only way to find your clutter threshold is to declutter. And then the maintenance for that is a 5-minute pickup. Okay. So this also, it does give you a gauge for, am I at my clutter threshold? It doesn't mean that everything is always going to be in its place. That is just not how I roll. I do not realize when something's leaving my hand. Like there's no awareness. Things just randomly end up on surfaces. Okay.
Yes.
So I could beat myself up, right? Like I could be like, oh, why am I this way? And it's not that I never still think those things, right? But that didn't help, right? Me saying, why do I do this? I've got to change. I've got to be a different person. That never helped. But what does help is for me to say, okay, I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to pick stuff up and put it away. If 5 minutes gets my space or my home, my goal is my whole home, to be under control, again, from picking stuff up and putting it away about once a day-ish, then I'm under my clutter threshold. Okay, so it's not that it stays perfect, it's that it stays manageable.
I got to start with a confessional because I booked the expert that you're about to meet today because I need to talk to her. I struggle with this profoundly. I am talking about organization in your home. You may be the person that is super slobby, or you might be the one that is like almost OCD. This is a conversation for all of us.